and welcome back to another episode of the TB&J podcast. Sitting across from me is Troy Brittingham.
You're Jeff.
I am Jeff, and with us today, special guest Caitlyn.
Hi, everybody.
Friend of the podcast, Caitlyn is here. We dragged her out to watch Joker Folie with us.
Once again, continuing the tradition that Caitlyn can't watch anything she likes.
Well, Caitlyn can watch whatever she wants. You know, she's a free person. But I was
We just don't care about our opinions on those things.
No. We did watch Joker 1 with her when it came out. And I was like, you know what?
Podcast?
That was pre-podcast, I think. That was 2019. Mm-hmm. And we launched this famously directly before COVID.
Yeah.
What a great idea.
It would have been a few months before.
It was literally October 2019, I think. Because I think it's been exactly 5 years since Joker 1. Mm-hmm. Or maybe not exactly. Don't fucking quote me. But yeah. So without further ado, let's talk about Folie Adieu. You see what I did there? Did you get it? I don't know if you got it, Troy.
Would you say this movie is a folly?
TB&J! Oh, I see what you did. That's clever. That's clever.
I did.
No. TB&J! So, real quick, if you're new around here, we try to give everything a thumbs up or a thumbs down off the bat because in the world of the internet, things are either good or bad. There's not a whole lot of room for gray room or nuance. So, Troy, thumbs up or thumbs down? Joker Folie Adieu.
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down. Ooh,
Yeah.
Surprising.
Yeah,
Caitlyn,
yeah.
how'd you feel about it?
Thumbs way down.
Thumbs way down. Oh, boy. This is going to be a shocker, you guys. Are you ready? I'm a thumbs down. Oh, my gosh. So, all right. Now we can start getting a little more specific, and we'll give this like a final grade at the end. Joker 1, we all saw.
Yes.
And I was a little bit nicer to it than the two of you were, but you two thought it was hot, stinky poo-poo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I recall leaving the theater and Caitlyn telling us that if she wasn't with us, she would have walked out about halfway through. Maybe sooner.
Maybe not even half. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was real bad.
It was a little stinky doo-doo.
Yeah, we are, Caitlyn, we are in, I think, a pretty big minority of, it's probably our least favorite movie of the year. Well, no, Cats was that year.
Yeah.
So you like Cats last, probably.
Cats traumatized me.
Yeah,
Cats was so fucking bad. I wanted to walk out of the movie theater.
I don't understand. You're both not being very jellical. But
What
We're
the
not
fuck
jellical.
does that mean?
Troy, let's try to stay on track. We're not here to talk about cats again. Don't bring up that PTSD. We're here to talk about Joker Folie Adieu. Different PTSD, okay? Do you have anything kind to say about this film? Let's start with Caitlyn since she is our guest.
My kindest thing I can say is that we saw it in 4DX, which was quite the experience.
That's true. You dragged me to see this fucking movie in 4DX, which I'd seen a 4D film of some sort when I was a kid at the aquarium, and they had the moving seats and the water in your face, and I was like, there's no way this is the same thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll go. Troy dragged me to go see fucking Megalopolis, the ultimate fan experience.
what was more interactive?
This was, but it was way more distracting. It was moving seats. My armrest had a button to turn the water on and off, which, who wants water on them at the movies?
I had my water turned on.
Oh, yeah? How'd that work out for you? Did it enhance your enjoyment of the film?
I think it added something.
It added something.
Anybody who lives near a 4DX studio, it is the most fucking Looney Tunes way to watch a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Me and Caitlyn, we saw Twisters like last
Another
month.
movie that's kind of bombed in reviews.
Yeah, it's not the best. I don't hate it. It's fine. It's fun. It's fun to watch, and maybe it's only because we watched it in 4DX.
Yeah, that movie was kind of built for 4DX.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's kind of like when Avatar came out and it was built for IMAX. If you weren't watching it in IMAX, you were kind of doing yourself a disservice.
True.
Just because of all the shit Cameron put into it to make it look incredible and really bring Pandora to life. But, famously, I think that movie's super overrated.
It is better than Twisters.
It is better than Twisters. So the viewing experience of 4D is kind of the only thing that you can say that was nice about it? about the film?
I think so. I think that's really
So it's
what
not
I enjoyed
even
the
nice
most.
to the film. You're being nice to Regal Cinema.
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure that I'm understanding you properly.
No, you're not misunderstanding anything.
That's fine. So that is the only positive note Caitlyn had to add to the conversation. Troy.
Caitlyn is the person who pushed for 40X the most, and I even was like, I don't know, for like a review, do we want to do that? It's very distracting, and Caitlyn's like, I don't think I can get through this fucking movie.
I needed something.
I mean, you could have asked me. You could have done some shrooms or grabbed some marijuana before we left.
Jesus
I've
Christ.
got Eddie's in the back. Troy, positivity. Think positively.
I actually do have them. I do like the first like third of this movie more than Joker 1.
I will agree with you on that.
Famously, I do not like Joker 1 though. But to keep it with the positive, I felt like the first one was like, let's sympathize you to this guy, and then kind of put out a guy that doesn't really exist. And was like, it was like very, very melodramatic.
Oh,
this
for
one,
sure.
This one also melodramatic start, but it was also like, here's a guy who's being abused in the prison system. So I'm like, okay, I can see this guy existing.
Yeah.
I like the idea of them being one big red flag I had in this movie was they started off by basically being like, oh, maybe Joker is an alternate personality. Maybe he has dissociative identity disorder, which is kind of an ableist take on dissociative identity disorder. But then they kind of take it in a way where it's like,
Depending
okay.
on how they do it, I can see how it would be ableist.
Sure.
Correct.
Yeah. But they sort of more lean it in a way of like, no, everybody else is kind of trying to rationalize this guy, and they're all kind of like, everybody in the movie sort of has a take on his illness, and everybody's kind of using it for like a narrative one way or another. So I kind of like the idea of that.
That kind of reminds me of old school comics where everyone kind of had their own idea of where the Joker came from, and how even like the red hooded criminal who went into Ace Chemicals and fell into the vat, even that's kind of like up in the air whether or not it's canon, especially depending on what fucking universe we're in. But I'm not going to get into that. But it felt to me kind of like Todd Phillips trying to explain in a more grounded sense of how everyone has their own different take on who the Joker is and how he came to be. But in reality, he's just Arthur. And he's just a guy. He was just down in the world and just killed some people. I'd like you do, right? Mm-hmm. Who hasn't killed some Wall Street bankers on a subway? Let he who hasn't shot a douchebag throw the first stone. I feel like I lost my audience here.
I don't know. But yeah, I think it has ideas that the first one throws out, and at least for the first...
Throws out as in puts in front of you, or throws out as in...
No, puts in front of you.
Okay.
And I think they stay pretty on there for most of it. Like, I think that they don't throw anything out, really.
I'd agree with that. It felt like the same character. It didn't feel like we got a different Arthur.
Sure.
It definitely was the same Arthur.
Yeah. Way more gaunt, though.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Joaquin Phoenix was not healthy during the filming of this movie. There's no way. He looks like he weighs 100 pounds soaking wet. It's just all skin and bones.
The beginning of this movie was a little worrisome, honestly.
Honestly, yeah, when he's sitting there in the morning and they open his door cell, and I guess he's dumping out his piss pot overnight, which is kind of gross, but like it's just all bones when you look at his back. Just the shoulder blades pop out, the spine pops out. It's like, ugh, gross. He's like a ghoul walking around. But yeah, I'm so sorry, Troy. You were saying?
No, that's sort of it. I like the idea of everybody kind of pushing different ideas of his own mental illness, and him coming out at the end and just being like, listen, it's me. Like, I did the low.
It's just me, guys.
What about you?
So I am a sucker for like old timey big band stuff. And they did a lot of big band numbers sung by Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix in this movie. Lady Gaga, famous as Clayface would say. And I enjoyed those parts individually. If you were to pluck them from the movie and make them their own little 3-minute videos on YouTube, I'd be like, oh, that's neat. I like that. But like within the context of the film, first of all, Joaquin Phoenix, at least as Joker, can't really sing. That's not his strong suit.
Yeah.
Granted, he's not a trained singer, but they made him do a lot of singing for a guy that doesn't have a great singing voice as Joker.
I will actually defend him a little bit.
I that's the thing. I don't want to shit on him for it. I don't have a great singing voice either.
Because to me, it was giving like dad who like can at least carry a tune but can't really sing vibes. So it was like comforting in a way, his voice.
Yeah, I can see it from that angle, and that's part of it. When he's like singing on the phone to her at the end, that was really cute in like a sort of trying to bond with her way. But when they did like the big numbers and he's got a microphone belting out notes, that was
It definitely did not carry. No.
Nah. They should have maybe done that over in a studio and put different audio over top of it. But it's a stylistic choice for sure. I don't know if I would have made the same choice, but hey, it is what it is. And here's the thing, right? Like, I don't know if it's Joaquin Phoenix's inability to sing or like a choice for Joker to not be able to sing very well. Because when I was a kid, Joaquin Phoenix did a movie called Walk the Line, which was about Johnny Cash's life, and he played Johnny Cash. And he sang Johnny Cash's songs, and he fucking sounded great. If you go back and watch that movie, it sounds good. He sounds pretty close to fucking Johnny Cash. So I know he can sing, or at least he could 20 years ago. I don't know if it's because he was doing nothing but starving himself and smoking cigarettes for the preparation of this role, that maybe his voice was a little worse for wear, but it just wasn't quite what I wanted to listen to over and over for all of those musical numbers. But that said, Lady Gaga, obviously, awesome singer, very, very successful, very big. Her singing was great. All the big band numbers with her were amazing. Loved it. I loved all the little fantasy moments they had in their heads of them dancing on the rooftop of Hotel Arkham. That was kind of cool. And they have like
very La La Land.
Very La La Land, especially because it starts with like her silhouette against the moon. And then you have like the scene of them doing like a Sonny and Cher bit on TV, singing at each other. And you get like a little glimpse of like comic book Joker and Harley when he gets upset that she's not looking at him. And then she just soothes his ego to say like, no, you're right. Let's give them what they want. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So like he's showing his little bit of abusive partner side and she's showing the doormat side. It's a little bit like Joker and Harley, but then she pulls a gun on him in the fantasy and shoots him. And I was like, all right, you're making it your own thing, Mr. Phillips. I can see that you're trying to do that. I don't know if I necessarily appreciate what you're trying to show me, but it's all right. It's all right. You're doing something new and something fun. And I don't know how much I want to shit on Todd Phillips for this movie because we all know the Joker, right? Every single one of us fucking knows Joker. Even if you've never seen a Batman film before in your fucking life, you know Joker. He's just one of those characters like fucking Mickey Mouse and Darth Vader that's everywhere. Everyone knows that character. So if you want to do something new, you got to take a risk. And this was certainly that. And I don't know if it paid off. It seems like it hasn't, based on reviews.
I would certainly say it didn't.
I'm doing my best to stay positive and upbeat on this. I did give it a thumbs down, and I could see that Troy's definitely not with me here. But I feel like he tried to do something new, and it just wasn't great. It wasn't a well put together vision. Maybe the original idea is good somewhere buried in there, but what we saw was not that.
And it's really the end where it just all falls apart.
And that's it, right? Like, and that's like the first third, maybe even 2/3 of this movie, where he's developing this relationship with Harley, who tells him her name is Lee, and fine, awesome, give her a new name, that's fine. And they have their fantasies together, where they're singing and dancing on stage, and the whole world's looking at them. And then the reality bits of going through the prison system and going to trial and all that. It was like there was a good movie in there somewhere. It got lost in translation between Philip's brain and the scriptwriter's brains, and then just what we saw in the movie theaters today. Something got lost along the way, and I don't know if I necessarily blame Todd Phillips for it, but if I don't blame Todd Phillips, I don't know who else to blame for it, because there's literally no one else I can think of. Like, it just wasn't very well directed or storyboarded. Or scripted, really. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
clunky ass dialogue.
There's a lot of that. Also, you were talking about the big band scene being pretty good individually. There's so fucking many of them. There's too many of them. Every single one starts the same way. Every single one is like people are having a dramatic conversation, and then somebody leans in, and they all sort of sound like they start like the same song. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, are they singing the song again? And then they're like, oh, it's a different song actually.
I actually didn't get that from the songs. Like, yeah, there's a lot of them. Don't get me wrong. And one of my favorite reviews I've seen so far of this movie is that it's a bad musical. And it certainly has enough songs in it to maybe justify being a musical-ish. I would argue it's not, because musical scenes don't advance the plot.
It's advertised as a musical, but...
I mean, fucking, what was it? Venom 2 was advertised as a love story?
I thought you were going to say advertised as a musical, and
no,
I was going to lose my mind.
It was advertised as a love story, I believe, between Venom and Eddie.
That was sort of more like the fans were saying that. The fans were more kind of
that
saying
trailer
that it
came
won.
out.
Yeah.
I think it was after the movie came out.
Yeah.
But they were maybe leading into the joke, but still.
Yeah, the first one, people were kind of joking about it, and then the second one, I felt like they leaned into it more.
That also happened with Deadpool, I believe. The first one was marketed a bit as a love story, / this is the movie your boyfriend dragged you to. And then the second one leaned into it really hard with Deadpool and Cable for some reason. Anyway, that's not really the point. We're not talking about those movies, because those are all actually way better movies. Well, except for maybe Venom 2. That movie was kind of rough. But the music didn't sound the same to me personally, but that's also because I knew a lot of those songs already, because I'm a big fucking nerd who listens to obscure-ish band music from the last, 40, 50 years. And a lot of those songs are 60s, 70s music numbers. But regardless, those scenes were fine on their own in their little fantasy world. They just didn't end up to anything, because it was amounting to Joker coming out of Arthur's shell and being Joker, but then they have him just be like, nah, it's me. It's Arthur.
They felt a lot more interrupting than they were part of the movie.
They were not part of the movie. I would argue that for sure.
They were all just his little fantasies in his head, but in the flow of the movie, it kind of made sense. Most of the time when they're happening, it's because he's bored or he's trying to be somewhere else, even though he's forced to be present. Like the one where they're in the prison and they're watching the TV and they're asking him how he feels about the death sentence. It's like he doesn't want to answer that. So he's going to escape to his fantasy and sing a song and be in his own different world. And then at the trial, when they're talking about stuff, he just starts doodling and drawing, and then all of a sudden he's just singing and doing his own thing, off in his own fantasy land. I as a man with severe ADHD and a love of music, I can relate pretty heavily. But that's not to say that it's good, but I can see what Todd Phillips was going for there.
Yeah. I can certainly see what it's going for. I'm just not certain.
You're just not on board.
I'm just not on board at all. I feel like the moment that they started singing, it kind of would take me out of the scene, and I would kind of feel like, okay, well, this is just going to be music for 3 minutes.
Right, and that's the problem that they have, and kind of what Troy was hinting at earlier. None of them have advanced the plot or do anything important other than to show us that Arthur's currently having a fantasy dream.
Right, and the movie is how long is this movie?
2 and change.
Yeah, it's longer than Joker 1 by a pretty good amount.
I'll get you an actual runtime in a second. I'm so sorry, but continue your thought.
But it is longer than the first one, I believe, and
2:18 for Joker 2.
2:18, and the first one is
2 hours 2.
Okay, that's what I thought. But I was asking because there's a court scene where somebody asked about it. But that wouldn't have made us.
No, that would have only been an hour 29. Yeah, there's no way Joker 1 was that short.
Right. But it just felt like this movie is so long, and all of the songs come at the exact same kind of time in every scene. The into is always the same, of him kind of getting bored or having a difficult conversation, and then it just happens. And it almost feels like whenever the movie gets interesting, a music number starts and stops it from being interesting. and maybe the visuals.
I can certainly
and stuff
see that,
aren't
yeah.
changing. So I'm like, every single time I'm like, it got to a point where towards the end I was just like, oh, they're singing again. I'm just gonna kind of check out for a moment and wait for this to be over.
I would also delve in a little bit to Jeff's point about the songs not showing anything about the plot or moving the plot forward. I feel like they are trying to show Arthur's mental state. So when he learns that Lee has been lying to him, that's when he has the Sonny and Cher fantasy about where she shoots him at the end. And then when they finally reconcile, then he has the courtroom fantasy where she pulls out the gun and then she hands it over.
Yes. And I think all of us as viewers going into this movie, what we really wanted the payoff to be was Joker being Joker with Harley Quinn, maybe killing some people, maybe running from some cops, being bad guys. Yep. We got zero of that. Literally none.
I think him being in jail for like 80% of the movie was a detriment to it.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. There's I think a combined 5 minutes where he's not actively behind bars or in custody. It's absolutely bonkers that they decided to go with that direction for this movie. And I get it. You wanted to show he had to face the consequences of his actions from the last movie. And the real story was Joker versus Arthur, and they're the same person. Fine. Cool. But, like, who wanted to see that? Who was asking for that? I don't know if anybody...
Todd Phillips. But...
Yeah, but, like, who else? And every trailer was, like, the two of them being Joker and Harley.
Harley kind of disappears around, like, maybe 3/4 of this movie. Like, sort of, like... The first half, she's in it a lot, and then she kind of disappears for a little bit, and then shows up a lot at the end again. But there's like a middle period where she's kind of out of it for a little bit. Yeah, which is another interesting thing, because Harley started as a patient in there, and then she checks herself out, and then we don't see them interact a whole lot more beyond that, because he's in custody and she is not. Why'd you do that? That seems like a weird choice as well. I mean, the only thing I can think of is you do that so that you can put her in costumes and makeup and make her look more the part while she's sitting there in court, and it gives her a reason to be in the courthouse with him. But, like, you could have just not had half your movie in the courthouse as well. I feel like you could have just had it in the psych ward. That would. So do we want to talk about the fucking foghorn leghorn ass?
We sure better.
So I see what he wanted with that. Uh-huh. It didn't play because it made me openly guffaw in a movie theater. But so the Joker, Arthur decides to defend himself. And when he does, after firing his lawyer, he comes in the red suit with the clown makeup, and then we see Joker. He says that I am Joker, and
the Joker baby.
Joker baby?
The Joker baby.
The Joker baby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like Baby Joker.
No. Oh, I would love Baby Joker.
I was like, what?
Can we get a prequel, Baby Joker?
The sequel to Baby Yoda.
Can we get like a Looney Tunes baby?
We get Baby Justice League.
Joker? Yeah.
Oh God. No,
but
thank you.
But it's only Joker.
No, thank you. How would you even have Batman in that?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
Who cares?
I'm just throwing out ideas for Mr. Big Warner to fucking make me movies.
Yeah, Big Warner canceled the Batman Beyond movie, but is moving forward with the Minecraft movie and this fucking pile of shit.
That's true.
Yeah, they fucking moving forward with Minecraft, but they canceled Batman Beyond movie. All right, cool. Anyway,
we stand every day in protest that Coyote versus Acme never happened. Anyway,
even though John Cena wanted to buy it outright to make it happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, none of that matters. That's not the movie we're discussing. So in that moment, I think, is when it starts to fall apart for Arthur. And the problem is it's not conveyed clearly enough to us as the audience. But it's like the beginning of the realization that there is no Joker. It is all Arthur. And Arthur always has been putting on an act to be Joker. And he was putting on an act in the courthouse with the suit and the makeup, but then he needed to, like, defend himself. And he didn't know how to do that as Joker. So he put on this fucking, like, To Kill a Mockingbird-ass Southern accent and defended himself that way. And I feel like that's what we were supposed to learn from that, is that it's falling apart and that Joker is not an established identity. It is just Arthur pretending to be Joker. But we didn't really get that from it. And then there's that whole scene after Arthur sits down and like decides that there is no more Joker, and then we see like a fantasy, I guess, in his head of him washing the makeup off his face and showing us that like, nah, it's just me. There is no Joker. It's always Arthur. And then we go back to him sitting there in the courthouse, and he's like, nah, there is no Joker. It's me. Hi, Arthur. Sup, everybody. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. I don't feel like we really established this too well. I feel like this just kind of happened. But okay, I guess this is where we're at now. I guess there is no Joker, and this movie was named inappropriately, maybe.
I mean, the first one, even people were kind of saying, like, if you kind of remove this entirely from being a thing related to Batman, it's probably better.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? If you're not Joker, if this is just like everything else is the same except for the names of these people and who they are pretending to be, and that one scene where they say Gotham City, like you could have had a decent-ish movie, maybe.
If the guy who's half his face is kind of blown off, but it's hard to tell, it isn't named Harvey Dent.
Yeah, right. That's a weird one.
Can I mention a personal gripe with me with Batman
You have a
material?
personal gripe?
I have a personal gripe.
Go for it.
I dislike when they put Gotham in an actual state.
Oh,
So when
I
they
hate
said that this was the state of New York,
Yeah.
I hated that.
Yeah, especially because that's not where Gotham is canonically.
Nope.
Where is it, Troy?
In your hearts and minds.
No. There's a real answer.
In the state of...
I'll give you a hint. It's next door to where we are now.
I'm just trying to really hit some... I know that sometimes it's like Ohio, sometimes it's Chicago.
Jersey.
It is Jersey.
New Jersey. Gotham City is canonically in New Jersey, which makes no sense because all of the architecture in the drawings is drawn from Chicago. And all of the crime rate stuff and all of that shit is like Detroit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of a bunch of
It's
everything.
if you took a Midwest city and put it in New Jersey. It's so weird.
I think the Dark Knight movies, he filmed it in Chicago.
I want to say minus the Gotham Knights stadium falling apart. That was Heinz Field.
That's Pittsburgh, yeah.
Well, it's not Heinz Field anymore. I think it's Accu-Share Field or something. Heinz pulled the name.
I know Heinz Ward is in that movie.
That's not really relevant, but okay.
I mean...
Chicago, Hong Kong, and England, as well as Pittsburgh.
That's
where it was
the
filmed.
Pittsburgh Stadium, the
Right.
Steelers.
Well, yeah, the Hong Kong scenes are when he was in...
Wasn't Big
Right.
Ben in that movie, too?
I know there's a bunch of Steelers. I don't think he was in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, because I know the uniforms are like the Steelers throwbacks, like the Bumblebee shit.
Yeah, it's just inverted black with yellow instead of yellow with black.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't use the real ones, because the NFL would have thrown a fit. Speaking of, Ravens won today. Woo! I just wanted to insert something I was very happy about today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy for you, Jeff.
Thank you. Football!
I'm less happy for you.
So... as we were saying, the opening half to maybe 2/3 of this movie has bits and pieces that are redeemable-ish, provided you really bring it home and tie everything together. And then the last third of this movie happens, and it is the saddest, wettest fart of a fucking movie I've ever seen, I think. It's fucking ridiculous, man. Oh my god. So, anonymous car bomb goes off and blows up the courthouse. Mm-hmm. And Joker, who was next to the wall, is miraculously fine. But the stenographer, who was further from the blast, in her little booth, is comically slumped over the edge of her desk, dead. Like, come on, man. Come on. That was almost hilarious to see it. Because it was just ridiculous. And he just stumbles out of a courthouse as the defendant who's in custody, currently in jail. That would never happen. That would never fucking happen.
Maybe Joker specced into a defense build.
No. There were cops on the other side of the room that definitely wouldn't have been blown back. Like, somebody would have grabbed him. That wouldn't have happened. But then he fucking just stumbles out and gets kind of kidnapped by a couple of Joker wannabes. And then he runs away from them and goes to his girlfriend, who just is like, nah, you're not Joker, bye. And then he goes back into custody and is just content to do nothing, I guess. Just completely gives up on everything. And then he gets shanked and dies. And that's it.
So here's my thought. Do you think that Todd Phillips is trying to be like, the guy who stabbed him is the real Joker? Because
Yes.
he gives him a joke and
Yes.
then starts laughing.
That's what I think he wanted us to take away from that. Or at least that the man who created the Joker myth, it suddenly became something bigger than him and something he couldn't control.
Which is just how the first movie ends.
Yeah, which is also how V for Vendetta ends, and every other fucking weird-ass movie where a kind of criminal becomes a larger-than-life symbol. Like, that's every fucking thing, right? You had fucking... The beginning of Dark Knight was a bunch of idiots in hockey pads trying to take on real criminals. And then he has to, like, tie them up and say, stop it, kids.
And out of curiosity, Batman himself, was he also wearing hockey pads?
No, actually, he says, I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Okay, just making sure. I was just curious.
Yeah. That was the difference between him and the guy he tied up. I just... The ending of this movie really left a sour taste in my mouth, and any goodwill I had for it in the beginning just dropped off a cliff. And I was like, no, fuck you, man. Fuck you for not delivering on anything that you kind of sort of promised us in the trailers and in the promotional materials and anything going into this movie. I hate it. I dislike everything that happened in the last bit of this movie. Oh my God, it's so bad. It's so bad.
To backpedal a little bit in the plot, there
Pedal
was
away.
something that left a sour taste in my mouth. Was
It is weird you brought a bicycle in here, but continue.
I wanted to ride around. Is this
Pring,
not
pring.
amusing to you?
It is pretty. It actually is.
It's
pretty
just
fun.
it's a little cumbersome in my small.
It's distracting,
apartment.
but also it is fun.
So it's like 40X.
It is like 40X, distracting but kind of fun.
Perfect. So during the courtroom scene where during his long monologue, finally kind of gets his feelings out about the guards and insults them, and there is a comic react cam of the guards hearing him insult them.
Oh yeah.
And that part's actually pretty funny. I will say I did like that part.
There were parts I enjoyed, like fucking the one guy who asked Joker to sign his book, which I don't know if you saw. It was like a book someone had written about Joker. It was called like The Death of something. It doesn't even matter. And he starts writing, "Put on a happy face," and the guy says, "This will be worth a fortune after he fries." And he just gives him a look and crosses it out and writes, "I hope you get cancer," with a smiley face. And I'm like, all right, that's pretty great. I did enjoy that.
That was
cool.
silly.
Then that's it, right? Like that was, oh man, that's cool. That's Joker.
But the aftermath of him insulting the guards, where he is pulled into the bathroom
Oh yeah.
and then undressed, and it is implied that he is sexually assaulted, is I can't believe that they handled that in that way.
I didn't get that vibe from it. I thought they just beat him up in the showers.
They undress him to his underwear and then go get those rags off of him, and they're all over him. They're all standing over him, and he is on the floor. I thought it was that's definitely what they were going for.
Maybe, but at the same time, they did make fun of him for like kissing the inmate earlier, and it was a different time-ish. I don't know. Anytime the guards were around, I got to admit, I was pulled out of it immediately because the friendly guard, Jackie, I think, is the same actor who played Mad Eye Moody in Harry Potter. So every time he spoke, all I could see was fucking Mad Eye limping around and like, "Potter, come here, Potter." And I'm just like, I can't take you seriously. And it's not your fault. You're a good actor. You're so it's the Adam West effect, right? Like you're so infused with this character that I can't see you as anything different, even though you don't have a fake eye on your head and you're clearly wearing a police officer's uniform. I don't know. I close my eyes and I see you in that trench coat with a cane, man. And that's just all I can see, man. I'm sorry. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. It's just I couldn't take any of the guard scenes seriously.
That does bring up
Some
a good
actors
question.
are like that, though.
They are. They take me out of it immediately. You know who else is like that for me? Honestly, Idris Elba. Anytime I see Idris Elba in anything, I only see Idris Elba.
Is it mostly because 90% of what Idris Elba is in is bad, even though he's an amazing actor?
No. That's not it at all. But like Idris Elba does that for me. John Cena, The Rock, They just like I only ever see
John Cena and The Rock kind of try to be them.
Correct.
I only ever see the guy. I don't
Sure.
see the performance.
I think that their persona kind of outshines.
Yeah, I'm saying those two are going for that.
Yeah. But then there's other actors that I know their persona better than the character, but they disappear into the character. Like fucking Matt Damon and Tom Cruise. I can't stand them as people, but they disappear into the roles they play.
I like Matt Damon.
Matt Damon's fine. He's fine. Tom Cruise is worse. But like, whenever I see like fucking Top Gun or Maverick or fucking any of the Mission Impossibles, I'm like, yep, that's a great fucking action movie. And that guy, oh yeah, that is Tom Cruise, isn't it? Like I forget about
that. I feel like I'm very aware of Tom Cruise.
I'm not, even though I am aware of Tom Cruise, obviously. But when I watch those movies, he disappears into the role a bit.
I think I agree with Jeff on that. I feel like the movie starts and I go, oh, okay, it's a Tom Cruise movie. And then he kind of sells me on what it is.
Right. He's a good actor. Terrible human being, but he's a good actor.
Yes. Yes.
I won't elaborate on why, because apparently those people tend to track you down on the internet and make you pay for things. Physically
Short
and
people.
metaphorically.
Short people.
Yes. That's exactly what I mean. Short kings unite. Troy, did you have another...
I want to keep them down.
Did you have another point to highlight? You look like you had something to say.
I also wanted to bring up this movie's very self-referential to Joker 1.
There are so many cutbacks to it.
There are a handful that I'm thinking of off the top of my head. There's probably more.
But they always keep talking about the other movie, the TV movie, which is very much just being like, hey, the things that happened in Joker 1, it's almost like a thing of this movie's kind of getting ahead of itself, of being like, hey, there was another Joker thing, and wasn't it great? We all liked it, right? Except for me and Caitlyn. But what if... But this is also its own thing, and you can't judge it off of that. And also, this is trying to be different. And like, there's a lot of conversations about the TV movie, and it is fully them comparing this movie to that movie ahead of the time.
So I viewed that whole bit completely differently.
Okay.
But I think that's because I have different people around me than you. And I'll elaborate on that. I work with a number of women in their 20s and 30s who are obsessed with true crime podcasts.
Sure.
And I have seen a lot of true crime stuff. I grew up with my mother who loves that stuff. I have seen every episode of Forensic Files and this and that and whatever. I saw all of that as them highlighting the sensationalism of America because there's a serial killer and they saw him kill somebody on live TV, and there's just so many different pieces of media written about him and focusing on him, because that's just what we do. Look at fucking Bundy, and what was that Netflix show that just came out about
the Menendez brothers?
Menendez brothers right now, but then what was it, last year, the year before? There was the one about Jeffrey Dahmer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that's just what America does. When a serial killer fascinates us, we do a TV series about them, and we do books about them.
I think it's also that. I also think that it's Todd Phillips being like, and also Joker 1 was kind of a sensation.
It might be. I didn't see it as that at all. That's not the vibe I got from it. It was just because then, like, Harley tells us, oh, I watched the TV movie like 20 times. It's like, okay, cool. So, like, you're just like any other woman who's obsessed with serial killers or person. I don't want to, marginalize a single group. It's just most of the people I know who are obsessed with serial killers happen to be women and mothers.
Caitlyn, opinion on serial killers?
Hot.
Serial killers are way in right now.
How does serial killer?
The Zoolander meme right now?
Serial killer tier list, go.
Ted Bundy on top for sure, because he was the Rizzler.
I would let Ted Bundy top me.
I hate this.
See, Troy, this is how we feel when you talk about that Star Wars card game.
I don't think these two things are comparable.
No, but America is really, really hot for a serial killer. It's just what we do. Like fucking, they were doing. It was the first televised trial in history when they were doing the Joker in that universe with their old ass black and white cameras. Cool. That reminds me of like when the fucking OJ case was broadcast. It was on every TV everywhere. Fucking my dad used to tell me that.
What does that have to do with? You were talking about this as like the first criminal murder case.
Yeah, OJ killed people.
Huh?
He's dead now. I can say whatever the fuck I want. I'm not going to have to worry about him. Not that I worried about him before, but fuck, OJ definitely killed her.
I think it's up to
Sure. Okay.
it's
Fine.
up in the air still.
The
Sure.
glove didn't fit.
The glove didn't fit, Jeff. We all agree.
Sure. Anyway, America loves themselves a serial killer. And when the OJ trial was on, it was in fucking bars. They were like showing that trial as live entertainment. It's just another form of entertainment for people. And there's no way that after Joker publicly admitted to killing 4 people and then a 5th on live TV, that wasn't going to be sensationalized and made shitloads of stuff about. They had him sign the fucking book. They talk about the TV movie. If podcasts were a thing, there definitely would have been one just completely dissecting the murders, and it would have run for 200 episodes with a fucking Dollar Shave Club sponsorship. But that's exactly what I saw it as, was kind of like almost, not quite, I don't want to give him credit, almost a satirical mirror against like how America views serial killers. What you said might be true. I didn't get that at all from it.
Yeah, I definitely thought this was a movie about a movie.
I didn't get that at all.
I
It just
also
felt
didn't
as
get
a
that.
continuation of Joker 1 because it literally takes place right after Joker 1.
Yeah,
'Cause he's still in prison.
I felt like this movie was constantly being like, hey, America was obsessed with Joker 1. And also,
They
let's talk...
weren't really.
Well, I think that's what Todd Phillips thinks people were. And
Maybe?
also, I think that there's a lot of people who, in this movie, are people who are critical of Joker 1. And also, I think that a bunch of Arthur's comments are him being like, hey, let this be a different thing than Joker 1. That's how I read the movie.
I didn't read that at all, but you're entitled to your opinion. This is a podcast. There is no facts. It's just opinions, really. It's just not how I interpreted it. You might be right. It might be way more surface level, but I was reading more into it. And I was like, no, maybe this is a deeper thing about sensationalizing serial killers, and maybe you shouldn't do that.
Well, I think it can be both things, too.
Sure.
I don't think it's not the thing you said.
Yeah. Because when you sensationalize serial killers, you get crazy people that think they're in love with them. And then they do a lot of really crazy things that are actual crimes, like burning down a psych ward and then not really facing any criminal charges for that.
Okay, that brings up another thing. Am I crazy in saying Harley kind of brings down this whole movie?
I'm not certain I agree with that.
I don't necessarily think it's Lady Gaga's fault.
Front page news, Troy hates women. Continue.
I don't necessarily think it's Lady Gaga's fault. I think she did fine. I don't get Harley. I don't really... I'm not really about any scene.
Here's
she's
my
in.
problem. Here's my problem with Harley Quinn as a character. And to be completely clear off the bat, I love Harley Quinn as a character. I think the Harley Quinn animated TV show on HBO Max is like fucking gold. And it's one of the best things DC's put out in like 20 years. That said, it feels like every 2 or 3 years, someone has a new idea for Harley and makes a completely new character with the Harley Quinn name and makeup. Mm-hmm. So maybe I'm just immune to it at this point, but whenever someone has a new take on Harley, I'm just like, all right, cool. Like, she's just become like the person of many faces, and I can see as being many different things. Fucking, she's Batman's lover in one universe. She's a fucking sidekick to him in another. And then you have like the Harley Quinn show where she was a bad guy and she becomes kind of a good guy. And then, she's in a lesbian love affair with fucking Poison Ivy. Like, everyone has their own takes on what they think Harley should be, and they keep making different versions of her. So I'm just maybe numb to it, maybe immune to it. Like, everyone's got a different Harley.
I would say this is probably my least favorite Harley.
It didn't feel any crazier than other Harleys I've seen.
I just felt like I don't know what she was about or doing, and what her role in this movie was.
There was a point where I was wondering if what they were going for with her was that she was like more evil than Arthur and was being sort of a bad influence on him, and people were assuming that he was a bad influence on her.
I think you're onto something there. I think that's definitely part of it. I think the other part of it was she really was in love with the fantasy of Joker, and she wanted to get closer to that fantasy. And then because at the end, as soon as the fantasy fades and it's just Arthur, she says, "That's it. There's nothing." And she just sings at him and says, we only had the fantasy and now that's gone. So we're done. Goodbye. Like, that's it. She really dreamed up this romanticized version of herself and the Joker. And she really wanted that fantasy. But once it was dead, she was done and she was gone. And I think she creates that story and checks herself into the ward to get closer to him. They never say that, really, but I think we're supposed to infer that.
That is what it is.
Yeah. From she tells him this story about burning down the apartment building and she got committed by her mom. But then his lawyer's like, nah, she checked herself in, like, recently. And now she checked herself out. Like, all of this was crafted by her. And then she has that spin immediately in the courtroom after she gets there late and sits in the back. And she's like, oh, ask his lawyer why I'm not closer. Like, what? Like, that feels like straight out of a Trump playbook of just, like, taking something not related but saying, ask them why this is related to that. And then it's like, oh, is there a conspiracy here? There isn't, but the more you deny it, the more people will believe it. Because that's just how fucking conspiracy theories work in this stupid country. And I liked what he tried to do with her. I just feel like the payoff wasn't there, so it all just fell flat. Like, I think you said it in the car on the way back. There was a lot of rising action, but ultimately no payoff. So it just kept going up and up and up, but instead of a roller coaster ride down, it was just a cliff, and it just...
And it truly just ends.
It just ends, yeah. It really does just end. And I was so upset that I, like, almost enjoyed a movie, but then it was just completely torn away from me in the last third of it. And to be completely fair, I'm not defending this movie too much, because while I did try to enjoy it, it was still boring enough that, like, I replied to a text message on my phone instead of just acknowledging it and keep on watching the movie. So, I mean, it wasn't that great. But I feel like there was an idea here that was good and redeemable, but it got lost and muddied in production. And that is my closing statement on that. Troy, do you have anything you want to polish us off with?
No, I don't think so. I think that's sort of all I had for that.
Right, and just a reminder, you still hate women, right?
I do.
Right, okay, cool. Caitlyn?
Although Caitlyn's allowed to be here.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'll mute this part of your microphone.
I'm allowed to be here.
Caitlyn's allowed to be here because we are trying to look for new people because of the very public beef I have with D.
Right.
Which, I mean, we haven't appeared on a podcast together for about 2 months now.
That's why you haven't appeared together.
And there's a whole lot of beef.
It's not because we took a small break because my grandmother died. And it's not because he's got a child and a full career.
Yeah, I mean, that's the forward-facing
And apparently
reason.
you have like 7 different clubs you're a part of where you play tabletop games.
Yeah, those are sort of the reasons that we throw out.
And your sister got married.
Yeah, we throw out those as like to the public. But, like, you know.
Yeah. That's just the facade.
Behind the scenes is because of all the...
D's kid, not even real.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all a facade. It's all fake.
Yeah.
We made it up to give him excuses.
Mostly because he's a liar. Mostly because he's a liar who can't be trusted. He's this no good fucking son of a bitch.
Whoa, okay.
And that's because of the public beef that we have.
All right.
Anyway, what were you saying, Caitlyn?
Caitlyn, what is your closing thought on Joker before we move on to grading?
I could have liked this movie.
Okay.
And it is such a goddamn shame that I don't.
That's exactly how I feel about it. There was enough in here that I could have liked it. It just got handled poorly.
I feel like I could have looked past the bad singing. I could have looked past the fact that it was a Joker movie. And I famously don't like that. And just the way that it handles itself at the end completely fumbles the bag.
Ugh, completely fumbles it. Just like the fucking Bengals. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't fumble it. The Ravens did twice, but we recovered it.
Caitlyn, I'm going to toss this to you. Do you prefer percentages 1 to 100 of how good a movie is or letter grades?
I prefer letter grades.
We also used to do numbers 1 to 10, not percentages.
Was it that?
Yep.
Oh, all right. Do you like 1 to 10 or letter grades?
Jesus criminy.
Let's do letter grades.
Let's do letter grades. A, B, C, D, F. And you can give a plus or a minus if you're feeling it. Troy, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go... I'm going to go... I'm gonna go C- for some reason.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like there's
Sorry,
shots-
I didn't mean to question your opinion. It's just all you did for the last what's the clock at? 50 minutes here?
No, it's probably more accurately a D+. I'm trying to think. I think I'm elevating it because we just did like Borderlands and Megalopolis, and maybe that's bumping me up a
Every
little bit.
film we do is judged on its own merits.
You're right. No, it probably is a D+.
You're giving it a D+. All right,
Yeah,
Caitlyn, how
I
do you
like
feel?
the first part of it more. I would have given Joker 1 a lower score.
Okay.
I absolutely would have given Joker 1 a lower score.
Then this?
Then this.
Okay.
I would rewatch Joker 2 before I would rewatch Joker 1.
Okay.
I think, based on letter grading, I would give this a D-.
Okay. Okay. You know what's funny? My exact thought was a D, just a regular big old fat D. So we're right
You
there.
think a lot about big fatties?
All the time. Do you
Okay,
not?
just interesting.
Do you not?
I just want to ask. Well, I do think about that big fat jerk D who I don't like, and we have public.
Here we go again.
We have a private beef behind the scenes.
Ay, again with you and the fucking feud. Let it die.
Always on with this.
It's on with the feud.
It's just because of how he wronged me behind the scenes. And
I don't know why I fucking did like a Larry David impression there. That was weird.
I liked it.
I was thinking more like we were getting close.
Who
to
doesn't
like,
love Larry David? He just gets me hot.
I thought we were getting close to like maybe like a Billy Crystal and like a Princess Bride situation too. Like
No.
a Miracle Max.
No.
Okay.
No. Larry David, come on.
All right.
All right, so that averages out to just a D.
Yeah.
Yeah, D+, D-. Yeah, I'm just gonna say that's an average of a D. So yeah, Joker 2 or Joker Folie Adieu. It's a D.
How did I have the highest score? That's impossible.
I know. I was way more positive on it than you were.
Yeah.
There's enough in this movie that I liked, but not enough to save it. And it definitely doesn't go anywhere or pay off. It's so fucking devoid of life at the end.
Yeah.
It's
I think
garbage.
I was just grading it with Joker 1 in mind.
You might have been. But again, every film on its own merits. The fucking ending credits rolling to Gaga doing a Sinatra cover. Loved that. That was awesome. Or Dean Martin, I think. Something like that. It was good. I liked her singing. I liked the songs. The movie was just bad. Bad movie.
Bad movie.
Bad movie. You sit in a corner, you think about what you did. That does it for this episode of the TB&J podcast. We will be coming at you soon with other things. I promise. I don't know when or what they are, but it'll be soon, and it'll be things. That much I can promise.
There is another show about a different Batman villain that I think is very good so far.
Oh my god, that show's so fucking good. Oh
It's
my
really
God.
good.
I started watching it for the podcast, and my wife was like, "Oh, what's this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just podcast homework. You don't need to watch it." And she was like, "No, I'll sit with you for a minute." And then it got to the end of the first episode, and she was like, "Oh, is there another one?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, excuse me." And she was like, "Yeah, like can we keep watching?" And I was like, "We can." Is it a we? And she was like, "This is good, man."
We are obviously talking about
The Penguin.
Late Night with Man-Bat.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait. No, I thought it was about Kite Man.
Oh, that is a show.
It
That is
is
true.
Spin-off of the Harley Quinn show.
Yeah. Caitlyn, favorite Batman villain spin-off show?
Batman villain spin-off show.
Yeah, I'm trying to pigeonhole you very specifically. Into
Is
something.
it just Kite Man and fucking Penguin?
I can't think of another one. Well,
Yeah.
I guess Harley Quinn has her own.
She's not a villain.
I mean, she was.
I guess I'll go with Penguin.
Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
You
All right.
I
make
haven't
one-
seen
you can
Kite
make-
Man either.
You could also make one up and lie.
Calendar Man.
Ooh, yes.
Good answer.
Did you know Calendar Man is a different villain from the Holiday Killer?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Can you please let me on this when there's a good movie?
No. You will suffer and you will like it. It's over.